What if I told you I had a daily vitamin you can take to increase your well-being, strengthen your relationships, and optimize your performance? And what if I told you I also had a painkiller you could take when things get challenging, like burnout, hurtful conversations, poor leadership, and more? Well, I do, and that's Virtuosity, something you're set up to take for the next 365 days with me and turn to whenever you're challenged. Let's get you started. Hello, and welcome to the Virtuosity Program. My name is Corey Crossan, one of the co-founders of Virtuosity. I also work at the University of Oxford with the Oxford Character Project. I will be leading you through your year-long Virtuosity Program. Most of you watching this video are launching your Virtuosity Program. However, if you've come across this video otherwise, this video can act as a strong foundation to guide you in your own Virtuosity character development journey. But for the sake of this video, I will refer to our Virtuosity Program. The development of character has dramatically transformed my life, and I believe it can for you too. I wanted to be a professional golfer for most of my life, and as I was finishing up my undergrad on a golf scholarship, I wasn't happy with who I was, despite putting my best foot forward. I would describe myself as someone with chronic and debilitating anxiety, and my performance was struggling too. I fell into the area of character research after deciding golf wasn't for me, and realized that character was the missing puzzle piece. I realized I had been nurturing parts of my character, but had totally neglected other parts of it, which led to my strengths operating as vices, such that my strive for excellence was turning into expectations for perfection. I hadn't cultivated the humility I needed to support my high drive, which turned into becoming afraid of the future because I was bound to make mistakes, but wasn't allowing my expectations to consider those as valid possibilities. So my anxiety being fearful of undeniable outcomes and my performance struggling from that. Understanding the anatomy of character has significantly enhanced both my well-being and performance, and since then I've become obsessed with understanding how character can intentionally be developed. All of those insights are embedded into Virtuosity and in the program you are about to begin. My undergraduate degree was in exercise science, so a lot of my research has been inspired by integrating exercise science with leadership and character development. You can think of Virtuosity like your character gym that will support you in transforming whatever is most important to you. The aim of this program is to move beyond the temporary bump of what we often refer to as awareness and learning about character to actually developing our character. Just like in fitness, how you can't get fit by learning about it, and that we need to actually exercise to become more fit, the same goes with character. In doing so, the development of character will underpin any initiative you care most about, whether it's personal performance or well-being, facilitating character, or embedding it into HR practices. While the sessions will provide invaluable space to exchange our insights and create a strong foundation for learning, your practice between sessions is where your character will develop. So with that in mind, my suggestion for this program is that you aim to hit 70% engagement each week, and we'll unpack what that actually looks like by the end of this video. Let's take a look at what we have in store for the year. We have 12 online sessions together once per month. We have our launch session in January where we will get to meet one another, unpack our character insights, and launch our development journey. After that, we have one session for each of the 11 character dimensions, with the first step being transcendence. In preparation for each session, we will practice developing the upcoming dimension so that when we arrive at the session, we are full of experience, challenges, and insights to share with one another. It makes the sessions much more meaningful when we've all been practicing. This program is designed based on 7 evidence-based strategies for character development. I'm going to introduce you to those, and in doing so, I've got 5 objectives by the end of this video. First, equip you to observe and identify character, which we'll do in the first session together. Help you examine your own character, which we will also do in the first session together. Prepare you to choose your first focus behavior for your development program. Help you to choose a partner, and customize your own character reminders. So what are the 7 strategies for character development? A team of researchers at the University of Oxford and Wake Forest University developed these 7 strategies. The power behind these strategies is that they can be customized in any way to support the unique needs of individuals and organizations. Yet we've developed our very unique recipe into this program. The first part of the program, you'll get to learn how we're using these strategies in the program. And in the second half of the program, you'll begin customizing your own strategies, because the more we customize our habitual practices, the more they stick. In doing so, if you're a coach, facilitator, educator, or leader, you'll be able to customize these designs for your own programming too. So in this video, I'll take you through each of these while setting you up to begin your development program. And before getting into the first strategy, it's important to have an overview of what we're trying to do. Here we have a character development process model that's embedded into the app. You can see on the left side, we have the 7 strategies for character development, which act as antecedents to character change, of which we have models and theories embedded within each of those. The more you practice these strategies, the more your character will develop. In doing so, character development is deeply personal and will transform your core beliefs and inner narratives, and even what we refer to as the anatomical systems of character being your physiology, affect, behavior, and cognition. Finally, what do we do all of this for? Well, the daily practice and development of character will support what we refer to as flourishing, supporting your sustained excellence and well-being, or whatever is most important to you. There is a lot to take in with this model, and we will slowly get to various aspects of it throughout our time together. Okay, so let's start with the first strategy, which is language. It helps us open up new possibilities by adopting new terms. In Virtuosity, the character language is embedded everywhere, and it's really like learning a new language, opening up new ways to see yourself, others, and the world. You'll have opportunity to practice using this language and have the opportunity to deepen your vocabulary with the extensive resources in our library. We will spend a good amount of time on this strategy now because it sets us up around the language we will use throughout the program. I'm going to take you back to 2008, where this particular strand of research originated. At this time, a group of researchers wanted to understand what had gone wrong with leadership. They put leadership on trial. They interviewed 350 leaders across the world, including Canada, US, Europe, and Asia. They found that failures in leadership were not shortages of competencies, but instead failures of character. So from that insight, these researchers sought how they could elevate character alongside competence. And yet character and competence are highly entangled. We see competencies like the leaves of a tree, which is about what we do, the values like the trunk of the tree, which is about how we do things, and character like the roots of the tree system, which is about who we are. If you picture a tree in a turbulent storm, it can be easily uprooted if the roots aren't well developed. But a tree with deeply developed roots is not easily uprooted. Similar to our character, when our character is deeply developed, it enables us to choose who we want to be moment to moment, even in difficult, turbulent, stressful contexts. So what is leader character? We use the word in terms of the disposition to lead, meaning bringing the best of ourselves to everything we do and inspiring others to do the same. While this approach can certainly help you with positional leadership, we will focus more on a disposition to lead throughout the program. And character, this is one of the many ways to think about character. As a character researcher, I can tell you that we don't all agree on this framework, but there are many things we like about this framework, and this is the framework that changed my life. What I would encourage you to do is think about this framework as flexible. So if you don't see a word on it that is meaningful to you, consider how you can incorporate it. But what's so important about having a framework is that without a framework, we implicitly choose a framework that isn't grounded in science and subject to our biases. I've seen this all the time growing up in sport, where coaches have their own philosophies, often based on their experiences, and so their approaches work well for half the team, but not the other half. Relying on a science-based framework helps us to ensure we understand all people, rather than only relying on our own experiences. Using a framework also helps bring a common language to what it is we are trying to do together, which is very powerful. So let me take you through this framework, which is central to this program and to the Virtuosity app. It consists of 11 dimensions, each with 4 to 9 associated elements, all of which work together to inform a habit of judgment and decision-making, which leads to sustained excellence and well-being. Now, all of those words you see here are virtues, meaning they produce beneficial outcomes for ourselves, others, and society. But any of these can operate as a vice if they are underdeveloped or unsupported by other dimensions. For example, courage without humility can manifest as being reckless. The implication isn't to weaken these incredible strengths you've cultivated, but looking to other underdeveloped dimensions you can strengthen to better support your strengths. And finally, there has been extensive research to identify these virtues as universal across context, culture, and time. A huge claim. Let's unpack that for a second. While these are meant to be universal, how they manifest can be different. For example, if we look to being respectful under humility, respect is practiced by making eye contact in some cultures, whereas other cultures it can be practiced by avoiding eye contact. but the essence of being respectful is agreed upon. So an important part of character is actually noticing how these virtues can manifest differently person to person. Ultimately, you can think of this framework as the anatomy of character, and the 11 dimensions are the 11 behavioral muscles that contribute to a habit of strong judgment and decision-making alongside your competencies. And any imbalances can compromise your judgment. The key points are captured in your Level 1 Virtuosity lessons if you feel you ever need to refer back to these key points. Now, I mentioned that virtues operate between two vices, deficient if underdeveloped, and excess if strong but unsupported. We have this beautiful Virtues and Vices Index that shows all the virtues from the framework and their associated vices. Please don't feel you need to memorize this index, but rather we will return to this index throughout the program to better understand what our character looks like, our virtues and vice tendencies. Bringing back to my story, I had cultivated a lot of drive that wasn't properly supported, so I actually found myself manifesting in those excess vice states. In particular, my striving for excellence was turning into striving for perfection. Why was that happening? Well, I hadn't cultivated the humility to support it, the vulnerability and modesty to experiment. The implication is that these excess vices compromise my performance and well-being. So I want to strengthen my humility to better support my drive so that I shift back to operating in that virtue state rather than vice. This table can also be aggregated to the group level, which helps us understand culture. Whenever we work with organizations, we find that every organization would be thrilled to operate in that middle strong column. And how do we get there? Well, character is ultimately a reflection of the people within it, so it's essentially an aggregate of people's individual character, with a slight twist. Because leaders have a significant influence on decisions and practices, it can also be a reflection of the leader's character too. Why does this all matter? We need strength of character to handle the grand challenges of our time, to be happy and to operate with sustained excellence. And remember that painkiller I talked about? Character and its development provide this really amazing and complex way to help us address these challenges. Let's look at an example. A common symptom that many of us struggle with is burnout. But why we experience burnout and how we can mitigate it is so different person to person through a character lens. For example, we typically think of people experiencing burnout as someone who is go, 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 without taking the time to slow down and take care of themselves. Through a character lens, this can be characterized as someone with high drive, unsupported by temperance. But we can experience burnout due to other character configurations. Another example for why someone may experience burnout could be strong accountability without the support of collaboration. This person has difficulty delegating and hasn't cultivated the support networks they need, which is crucial to avoid burnout. Or a person with humanity without integrity. This was a classic example in healthcare where they took a compassionate first leadership approach, which resulted in give without enough focus on nurturing personal needs. The development of character is so powerful because it can affect just about anything. Let's look at the research. And while I share the research, I encourage you to consider what's most important to you. Our research has found that leaders with strong character compared to those with weak character resulted in 14% increase in leader effectiveness, 10% increase in leader resilience, 8% increase in leader well-being, 6% increase in promotion potential, 18% increase in employee voice, 16% increase in psychological safety, and the list goes on. These are incredibly powerful statistics, but what's the takeaway? We know we can move the needle on the tremendous benefits by strengthening our character. So the motivation becomes, how can we strengthen our character? And remember that vitamin I told you about? Voila! That's what the program is all about. So take a moment to pause and consider, what do you care most about? What benefit do you want to see from investing in your own character? It will be helpful to anchor your aims in something to act as a consistent motivator for you throughout this program. On to the second strategy, which is Exemplars. Our lives reflect those we admire. In Virtuosity, we provide extensive resources to inspire you, such as through movie clips, music playlists, and in the first stage of your character development, we encourage you to find examples of strong character in people around you. We will look to video clips a lot throughout this program because they are a great opportunity to not only become inspired, but also discover what virtues and vices look like. These are some of my personal favorites: Hidden Figures for Transcendence, Rush for Drive, The Last Dance for Collaboration, and many more we will continue to explore together throughout the program. In fact, we will do our first video observation together in our first session together. The third strategy is reflection. We learn deeply when experience is followed by reflection. This is a common word, but we use it in a particular way in character, mainly by using the process of character development as a construct to reflect. For example, we use the Lear character framework to help us understand our habit of judgment and decision-making. We will reflect on how we are exercising our character and the systems that support or undermine it, and we will reflect on the outcomes of our character. The big reflection tool, of course, is the character assessment. The purpose of this assessment isn't to type you like personality tests, because character can be changed, unlike personality. Rather, it's used as a development tool to help you become more aware of your character's strengths and areas for improvement. And in teams, it can be useful to understand group dynamics, opportunities to offer your support to others, and opportunities where you can learn from the strengths of others. Finally, we examine group-level character to understand how it impacts culture or other KPIs. In our first session, we will explore the group character insights that can get into small groups to begin unpacking our own insights. For now, make sure you've done the initial assessment, and you can review your insights immediately by clicking on the insights icon at the bottom of your screen. I'm also providing a how-to video in the description of this video on how to unpack your character insights if you're anxious to do so before our first session. After unpacking your insights, you're set to select your first focus behavior. Typically, we encourage people to choose one based on 2 recommendations. The first being to choose one that is weaker, because tackling this one will make a significant difference in your overall character, as it may be causing your strengths to operate as vices. Or choose one that you're curious about. But in this program, we will work through the dimensions together each month. We find it to be incredibly powerful to work on these dimensions together. After our first session, the first dimension we'll focus on is transcendence. So I encourage you to choose one behavior associated with transcendence, and you'll stick with the same behavior throughout the full month. This is because there are different stages of character development for each behavior. Sticking with the same behavior will enable you to see how these stages progress. Please pause the video now so you can choose a behavior associated with transcendence. I'm also linking a how-to video on choosing your first focus behavior in the description of this video. The fourth strategy is systems. We develop resilience when we are aware of the systems we live within. I really love the James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, because he often refers to the systems we can design to support our habit development. One of my favorite quotes goes, "We do not rise to the level of our goals, but rather we fall to the level of our systems." This deeply resonates with me, as I've seen time and time again how people's short-term motivation and inspiration dwindles out. But when we intentionally create systems that don't let us fall too far, our habits are upheld. A classic example in the health domain I can share is around healthy eating. If your aim is to eat healthier, don't count on your motivation to do so, because that will definitely drop out over time. Instead, create a system for yourself. Well, how can you do this? It's important not to have bad food in your house when your motivation does go down. But how do you make sure you don't have bad food in your house? Well, when you go grocery shopping, make sure you go on a full stomach so you don't buy bad foods. That's a system to support your healthy eating. In Virtuosity, you'll reflect on your character systems each week in your weekly assessment. We will unpack these throughout the program, and in terms of how these systems that can support or undermine your character, which includes our attitude, the influence of peers and culture, our lifestyle practices, and our perceived ability. These systems don't just happen to us, but we can actually intentionally construct these systems to better support our character and the character of others. For example, to strengthen attitude, we can better understand how virtues support our own development, such as redefining how vulnerability is a strength rather than a weakness. And at an organizational level, rewarding and promoting strength of character to show people it's important. We've constructed Virtuosity as its own system to make a strategic impact in organizations. It helps us go beyond the temporary bump of learning into development at scale, while enabling the customization character development requires. Being able to scale character development makes it accessible across an entire organization and can be extremely powerful in producing data insights to guide areas for development and to assist in the institutionalization of character. The fifth strategy is friendships. We become our best selves when supported by friendships of mutual accountability. Engaging in character development with others serves 4 purposes. It strengthens awareness by asking for feedback from others. It enhances our awareness of character beyond our own experiences by understanding how development occurs in others. We learn more deeply through dialogue with others. And finally, accountability. You'll find that in this program, having a monthly 90-minute session dedicated to unpacking your character development insights works as a very useful anchor point to strengthen your commitment to development. In Virtuosity, you can choose to add a partner, and in fact, we strongly encourage you to join the program with a partner. If you don't have a partner, you can certainly join up with a partner in this program. I'm linking a video in the description that shows how two total strangers in our last program choose to be partners and how that evolved into something really great. Having a partner in the app will enable you to complete character assessments of one another and provide weekly insights for one another. Don't worry if you don't think you have the perfect partner, as it's really meant to act as an additional accountability piece and provide you with the opportunity to unpack your insights more regularly with someone else. I do this every week with my partner. At the end of each week, you get a weekly insights report, and my partner and I use this as an opportunity to share insights from the week, learn from one another, and discuss any potential discrepancies between personal and partner observations. You can add a partner by entering in your partner's code or sharing your code with your partner. And yes, you can have more than one partner. The sixth strategy is practice. We become what we repeatedly do. This means that if we want to become more brave, we practice doing brave acts. Simpler said than done, of course. What this strategy helps us see is that character isn't only about the big moments where we hope we do the right thing, but instead it's practiced in the micro moments. There's opportunity to exercise character in everything we do. And when we practice our character in the micro moments, we can trust who we will be in the big moments because it's who we've been at all other times. To practice character development, it's critical to do so through these 5 stages of character development that help to ensure we are building a solid foundation. This is inspired by a very basic exercise science principle known as progressive overload, meaning that as you become stronger, you need to adjust your exercises to become more difficult to ensure you continue your development. Just as you wouldn't instruct someone who has never run before to run a marathon their first time running because they wouldn't likely make it or severely injure themselves, same thing applies to character. Someone who has never been vulnerable before can find it very difficult and scary to do so. And it's important to start with understanding what you're actually exercising to make sure you have that solid foundation. I've seen this in gyms so many times where people can squat a bunch of weight early on, but they aren't doing it properly. What does this lead to? Well, injury first of all, but it also leads to a lower ceiling because they aren't learning how to activate the right muscles. In squatting, people easily forget to activate their glutes, which is the largest muscle system in your lower body. Think about the same thing with your character. Take the time to really discover what your bravery looks like and what it doesn't look like before rushing into exercising it. This will help make sure you are indeed strengthening your bravery, allowing you lots of room for growth over the long term. So how does this work in Virtuosity? When you choose a character quality for the first time, you begin at level 1, or what we refer to as the first stage of character development. As you continue to stick with the same character quality, your exercises become more challenging, progressing from stage 1 to stage 5. Virtuosity delivers daily exercises to you each day. These exercises are meant to be transformative rather than additive, meaning they transform how you're already spending your time rather than adding another to-do item to your already very busy life. What do the exercises look like? Let's begin at level 1. Remember, stage 1 is about discovering your character, so the level 1 exercises are designed to help you notice what it looks like for you when you demonstrate the character virtue you're focusing on, and also when you've demonstrated its vices, both the deficient vices and excess vices. For example, I can notice times I demonstrate being confident compared to times I've demonstrated the deficient vice of being unassured, or other times I've demonstrated the excess vice of being arrogant. The exercises also encourage you to notice what the virtues and vices look like in others. This is important because virtues and vices may manifest differently across people. Remember my earlier example with respect. Some people may show respect by making eye contact, whereas others may avoid eye contact to show respect. Or for some people, bravery may be speaking up, whereas for others, it could be choosing to stay quiet. We get feedback that either this level is super easy or super difficult. If you find this too easy, it's probably because you aren't doing it right or thorough enough. Paying attention to how these virtues and vices show up in the micro moments of how people think, feel, and act is nuanced and powerful. And especially when you're in a role of trying to support others, noticing how their character shows up is so important. rather than projecting your own personal experiences onto them. Moving on to stage 2 of character development, which is activating your character. The level 2 exercises are designed to help you curate your own set of resources that help you activate your character quality. We provide our own set of resources and encourage you to collect your own. Some examples of resources we provide are music playlists and songs, stories, films, quotes, images, and places. My personal favorites are music and stories because they bring an emotive feeling to the virtue that goes beyond the typical cognitive learning I'm used to in academia. People have mentioned this level is really meaningful to them because it helps bring the words to life. It evokes a feeling beyond a simple understanding of the character quality. I had a woman in one of our programs who was focusing on bravery share a story about how she imagines her child talking herself up to jump off the climbers, and for her that's now an imprinted resource that she looks to whenever she's activating her bravery. Stage 3 of character development is strengthening your character. The level 3 exercises are designed to help you practice the character quality. As Aristotle says, you become what you repeatedly do. So, if you want to become more brave, you need to practice more brave acts. In Virtuosity, we provide a set of daily exercises that help you practice the character quality. For example, to be more open-minded and flexible, we propose using yes and language throughout your usual conversations. The yes and exercise comes from the classic improv exercise where you're meant to say yes to whatever is offered in front of you, whether it be ideas, physical things, or even the weather, then build upon what's offered to you. Or to strengthen your compassion, we propose using a different love language each day to expand the way you provide and receive love. For example, some people may have a very narrow lens of compassion, such as using words of affirmation. But if they can notice that others do acts of service to show compassion, they are now more open to receiving love. And if they can also do acts of service for those who prefer that love language, they are now more capable of supporting others effectively. These small daily exercises we provide can have massive impact, and it doesn't take more time to do it, simply looking at the exercise in the morning to help you transform your day. Stage 4 of character development is connecting your character qualities with others. The level 4 exercises are the same as the level 3 exercises, but also encourage you to consider how other character qualities are needed to support your exercise. For example, if you're trying to strengthen your bravery, you may also notice you need to activate vulnerability, something Brené Brown talks a lot about. This is a key insight in your learning journey because you can then choose to pivot your development towards vulnerability, for example, if you are noticing it's a blockage for your bravery development. And finally, stage 5 of character development is sustaining your character qualities across contexts and under stress. What does this really mean? Take a moment to reflect on your own character. How does your accountability show up at work compared to at home? Are you more accountable at work and perhaps less accountable with household chores? Or perhaps the opposite way around? Character is strongest when it's sustained across all contexts. So in Virtuosity, once you get to level 5, you could choose various potential pressures to focus on that influence your character exercises. So you continue with your same exercises, but also consider how a particular contextual influence supports or undermines your ability to exercise your target character quality. For example, one of the contextual pressures you can focus on is time. For me, as I focus on being compassionate, I notice that when I feel stressed for time, it's much harder for me to practice being compassionate. So being aware of this can help me better manage my time to enable more compassion. And finally, the last strategy is reminders. We achieve consistency in maintaining core commitments with the help of reminders. These reminders can take on many different forms. The most simple of them is time, setting time reminders for us to think about and exercise our character. In fact, in Virtuosity, we enable you to customize the time of your reminders. I use Virtuosity twice a day, and I encourage you to begin with the same. Once in the morning to look at my daily character exercise, and doing so takes about 20 seconds and helps me bring an intentionality to my day. The character exercise doesn't take more time to do, but rather transforms how I spend my day. Then I use Virtuosity again before I go to bed to reflect on my character exercise and the associated flourishing metrics, performance, interactions, and mood. I encourage you to pause the video now and customize those 2 times in your Virtuosity app. When is a good time for you to look at your morning exercise, and when is a good time to reflect on your day? You can customize these notifications by clicking on the settings icon at the bottom of your screen. Reminders can also take on other forms, such as physical or mental states. For example, when you notice you feel stressed, you can exercise your temperance by taking 3 deep breaths. Reminders can be based on your environment or context. James Clear talks about setting up your environment to be conducive to our habit development aims, such as placing a guitar in your common area rather than downstairs, where you never go, is that you are encouraged to play your guitar. For example, this can be playing music or placing quotes or images around your working area that activate your character. Reminders can also be events. For example, you can practice your collaboration by using yes and language anytime you read or watch the news. And finally, reminders can be people, such that you exercise your gratitude every time you greet a colleague. One of the most powerful reminders can be your existing habits. We refer to this as habit stacking, meaning that when you're trying to build a new habit, we stack it onto an existing habit. So for me, in addition to having my morning exercise delivery through Virtuosity, I've also stacked looking at my morning exercise onto my morning routine of having a coffee. I never miss a morning without a coffee, so this ensures I will always look at my character exercise. And at night, it's simply getting into bed that reminds me to reflect on my character. I'm going to encourage you to think about how you can use habit stacking. What is something you do every morning you can stack your morning character exercise onto? And what is something you can do every evening you can stack your character reflection onto? We will share these ideas in our first session together. That brings us to the end of the 7 strategies. Please make sure to choose one behavior associated with transcendence so that you can begin exploring the app. Please don't stress about having everything figured out. Rather, give it your best shot so that we can spend time addressing your confusions in the first session so that you're all set after our first session together. At the beginning of the video, I did ask that you aim to hit 70% engagement. What this means is that you complete 70% of what your weekly program is asking of you. On your home screen, all of the items we are asking you to habituate to help you strengthen your character. So completing about 70% of these is about 5 out of 7 days. Every Monday morning, you are provided with a weekly Insights report, which you can find by clicking on the Insights icon at the bottom of your screen, then clicking on Insights report. Your engagement metric is shown as a percentage. The aim is to keep this at 70% or higher. Learning the technology is part of the journey, and I promise you'll get the hang of it within the next few weeks and become an expert in the next few months. Reach out if you have any issues. Otherwise, looking forward to our first session together. Bye for now.